how you should be kind of going about structuring this polarized 3-bet range. It really does start with your stack-off range and then moves to the middle of your range. Though you might know the ratio of air to nuts that you want, you have to figure out where the air starts and where your middling equity hands that you can plus EV flat ends. And that's kind of a question on feel based on a lot of table dynamics, so it's not necessarily something that you know, but as long as you're able to structure these ranges, at least semi-competently. I mean, I don't know how to structure one to a T, perfectly, but I can certainly make an educated guess. So we have a fish, open limps in middle position, and the cutoff isolates him for 4 big blinds. I'm probably going to go crazy here, but I'm also going to flat a really wide range because I feel like when I call this open, I'm going to have position post-flop, and also I'm going to be inducing a call from this fish. I mean, near 100%. I think he's almost always calling and just calling, so I feel like I can play a ton of hands in this spot. Unfortunately, it creates a great spot for a squeeze from either of these two opponents. Rampage over here with 3,000 hands at 15-12 probably isn't doing much, so I'm not really worried about him. Paradox looks like he could open up his game. His 3-bet percentage is 10%, I think. Yeah, he's 3-betting about 10%, so it's very likely that he's coming across with a squeeze fairly often, but I don't think that's going to dissuade me from flatting a ton of these suited connectors. All my ace-X, almost certainly all my suited ace-X, and probably ace-8 offsuit plus. So my 3-bet range, though, I'm going to want to be extremely wide as well, because I feel like nearly ace-ace here is going to be isolating this fish with an extremely wide range, possibly the top 25% of his hands, top 30% of his hands. So that means that he'd have to continue to be unexploitable and not be folding so often that I'm making direct profit with any 2 cards that I 3-bet. He's going to have to be continuing with like the top 10% of hands, which is a ton of hands. Maybe the top, and especially out of position. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem for him if he was in position, but he's just not going to find that many hands that he can profitably call, so he's going to have to fold exploitably. He's just in a bad spot. So I'm going to be flatting all these ace-X hands. I'm probably going to be flatting, just an extremely wide range. Definitely King 9 suited plus. King 8 might be my cutoff. So this is similar to the last hand, except I'm probably going to want to 3-bet even more. All these. The difficulty is I'm flatting many more hands, so there's less hands to 3-bet. Maybe at 9-6, 10-7. I might call with. I'm not sure if that's a flat or a 3-bet. I don't mind this range. It doesn't look terrible. It's a whopping 16%, so obviously I'm exploitable, but that's the point of poker. I'm leaving the equilibrium of being able to continue often enough to be unexploited in order to better exploit my opponent. So this is not an extreme exploitation. 16% isn't absolutely wacky, but it's a lot, and I'm certainly not continuing nearly often enough to remain unexploited. But it's my belief that Neely won't be exploiting me nearly often enough, and I'm generally exploiting him. So this is my 3-bet range, and then I'm calling with a ton of hands as well. So I'll probably have a voluntary put in pot here of something like 40% in this spot. Just a ton of hands. So clear that out. And I assume I do 3-bet, and I assume I'd probably take it. Oh, we have a post-flop spot. When the fish calls, we're going to get a call from Neely almost every time, and I think that's the big variable, but it's pretty hard for him to cold call that 3-bet out of position. Most of the hands that I'm 3-betting have some sort of equity, despite the fact that I couldn't flat them with equity. They're not, absolute nothing. They're just the top of my air range. So then we get this flop, which is pretty much the best we could possibly ask for. We have the blocker to the boat, obviously. There's not many King X in the fish's range. Neely obviously can't have too many King X in his range, but they're certainly there. So we get 2 checks, and now we have an interesting question in if we bet, do we fold better? Are better hands going to fold? Possibly not on this street, especially I don't think the fish is going to fold anything better. If Neely's a big question, it depends on whether or not he folds jacks, queens, tens, sevens, just sevens through queens pretty much. And I don't think he folds them on the street, but he might find a fold on the turn. So for that reason, I might make like a juicer bet of something like $12, so that when he calls, the pot's going to be about $60, and we're going to have about 90 left effective. Maybe a little bit more, maybe $15, just under half pot, so the pot's about $67. And yeah, I like that more. So we can come for just a little over pot on the turn and make it look like we just kind of poorly played our hand. So he's going to come along, and then there's going to be a ton of scare cards on the turn if he comes along with sevens through queens, and then we could put a lot of pressure on him on the turn. And then it also minimizes our losses when the fish check raises all in with, King X or a flush draw. And I don't know if we fold at that point. I think it's a fold if the fish check raises us all in. But yeah, I come up for 22. I think that's a mild mistake. The pot's going to be, what is that, $80? Well, no, that's probably a perfect bet sizing. The pot's going to be about $80. We have about $80 behind. It's just a pot size shove. That's pretty good. Well played. And then this guy shoves all in. Obviously, I can't see it being anything but King X and flush draws, all, which are pretty much crushing me. It's possible that he's shoving sevens plus. I think that's a really bad play, but people make really bad plays all the time. So, not much you can do this hand. Just tried to take it down a couple times and failed. I'm fine with my play, though. Maybe I should look at a spot where I merge my range and 3-bet on the button. Or maybe 3-bet with on the button with a hand that doesn't look like it can. Let's see. This is probably a bad one. We'll look at that in a second. Queen 10 suited, this might be a good one. Okay, so if I 3-bet Queen 10 suited here, it means that I expect this guy, the cutoff, to call with an extremely wide range, including a lot of suited connectors. That's possible. It looks like he's opening 26% of his hands here. His folded 3-bet is 72%, which isn't crazy, but his 4-bet percentage is 4%, so that means that he's flatting quite a bit. Wow, that's a lot. So yeah, it looks like I should have a merged 3-bet range. I don't know if